and Greg, you mentioned those contradictory audiences, and you mentioned how the Albanese government hasn't been able to hold the line on anything since the voice. Julian Leeser today, the Liberal MP, said that he thought that this was really about Albanese trying to appease voters in Graindler, his home seat, which has a very large Greens vote. And other people have suggested that also it's about appeasing seats with a high Muslim population in Western Sydney, and also in suburban Melbourne. How much is domestic politics affecting this?
I think this is all domestic politics. I think the Albanese government is proving to be a tremendous disappointment now. It's not doing anything at all on defence. I often rabbit on about that on this program. You know, simple electoral mathematics. There are nearly 900,000 Muslims in Australia, about 100,000 Jews. So the Albanese government is in process of dismounting from its support of Israel and joining up to a more appeasing Muslim opinion position. It's under assault from the Greens. I think Albanese will always hold Graindler, but I think the Greens are threatening Labor in all kinds of inner city seats. And you can see the dishonest and terrible campaign the Greens will run at the next election. And by the way, I think Labor looks heroic compared to the Greens, but you can see the Greens claiming that Labor is militarist and a patsy for the Americans and is anti-Palestinian and all that. So I think a very big part of this resolution is to try to appease the Arab voters in southwest Sydney and elsewhere, and to safeguard themselves against the obvious attack lines from the Greens at the next election. I mean, the Albanese government has seen Joe Biden's numbers go down as he has supported Israel. So Biden, I'm happy, I'm a very strong critic of Biden on a lot of fronts, but he has been very good on Israel, and he's lost Arab voters and he's lost Gen Z as a result. That's the state that our poor culture is in at the moment. And the Albanese government is not going to go courageously in defence of friends when there are votes on the other side.
Yeah, no, Greg, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to give Joe Biden something I rarely do, but quite a bit of credit for, again, holding the line. But he's part of that generation of Democrats for whom support for Israel has always been a given. And I'm worried about what happens when that younger generation comes up through. And a lot of those younger voters are coming out of institutions like Harvard. And I wanted to just get your thoughts on this before I let you go. We've had all of this controversy at Harvard, UPenn, MIT, but also more broadly across the university campuses in the United States. We're seeing some of that here in Australia as well. It's already taking the scalp of one university president, but it's really revealed to me that this anti-Semitism we're seeing around Israel is just the sharp, pointy end of this much broader diversity, equity, inclusion, or DEI agenda, which sounds very warm and fuzzy, but is actually very sinister. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on what's happening in the American Academy and what that means to our culture and civilization, and if there's any way we can recover.
Well, James, I think you're absolutely right. This is a very serious matter. The Economist this week has a piece which shows that something like 20% of younger people in America, most of them college educated, don't believe the Holocaust ever occurred.
Shocking.
So we've never had more folks in college, and we've never had more money spent on college education, and yet we've never had greater monstrous disbelief in reality than we're seeing now. And honestly, if you put your kids through a humanities education in Yale or Harvard or any of the Ivy League American universities, they're likely to come out hating the Western tradition, hating the United States, and certainly hating Israel, which they will see as a colonialist and oppressor nation. Now, the way the academies have turned against the West, I mean, it's an irony here. For 2,000 years, Western anti-Semitism despised Jews because they were allegedly alien to the West. Now the contemporary left at campuses despises Jews because they are a representative of the West.
Great point.
They can't win no matter what. But I think the need to clean up the universities, I mean, if the Liberals had the IQ of a boy 10, they would be crusading on education, but they have they've overseen the same woke madness for the 10 years they were in government without doing without doing anything about it. But that's a huge challenge for every Western society. Forget about the money for education. How about we get truth in education?